Now, after my first husband and I separated, he still had the good job at IBM, and the house, and the furniture, and the Christmas ornaments, and the photographs. And I had my kids most of the time, which was good, and at least on an apartment, and a job that didn't pay nearly enough in academia. Now, he took my teenage boys to the Caribbean, and then he took them to Hawaii. Not that I was resentful or anything, but I was never going to be able to afford to take them anywhere. Fortunately, a colleague of mine in the theater department had a great idea. He said, this very weekend, there's a performance in Vermont. Outstanding choreography, outstanding direction, world famous, and it's not expensive. Well, I might never do Hawaii, but I could do Vermont. And Vermont wasn't very far away. It was like on the map, maybe this far. So I went home and I suggested to my kids. I mean, how could they not like it? You know, the scenic vistas, the historical markers, the maple syrup, the cheese, covered bridges. What's not to like? One of them said, well, can we be back in time for the Yankee game on Sunday? I took that to be a yes. Now, nowadays, I know, because I had used MapQuest, that it takes 3 hours and 56 minutes to get to the northeast corner of Vermont, but in those days I didn't know that. That's 3 hours and 56 minutes if you don't stop for gas or food or bathroom or scenic vistas. So we arrived on Saturday rather late. It was almost time for the performance. So we parked in a big grassy parking lot. We got out of the car. We could smell the bread baking. Smelled wonderful. This was part of the deal. It was the bread and puppets theater. Just the sort of thing that appeals to teenage boys. So we sat on the side of a hilltop, found a place. Hilltop is also called the Natural Amphitheater. And we were surrounded by zillions and zillions of grasshoppers. They got in our shoes. They got down our clothes. They got in our ears. And around us, we were surrounded by people wearing tie-dyes and long hair and sandals. I had seen lots of people like that when I lived in Woodstock years ago, but they had seemed a lot younger. But then again, so was I. The smell of marijuana kind of wafted through the air. I might have had a hard time convincing my sons to stay for the performance, but fortunately, at that moment, a young woman walked by topless. So that gave them something to do while they were not paying any attention to the performance. They could look for naked people. Now, I am quite sure the performance was excellent. Down on the bottom of the hill, giant figures, 6, 8 feet tall, walked by with masks and long black and white robes, and round they went in a circle. I'm not exactly sure what it was all about. Something about life and death, black and white, good and evil, lover, hate. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm very confident that it was probably great. It finished, we went back. I thought perhaps the first day had not gone terribly well, but I was sure the next day would be much better. I mean, how could you not like Vermont? You know, the maple syrup, the covered bridges, the scenic vistas, the historical markers, the gift shops. So the next morning, Sunday morning, we got up and we went to a cheese factory that was about 30 miles away. It was my suggestion. But how was I to know that it was going to be closed on a Sunday morning? But it was okay. My sons were fine with that. They didn't seem too interested in the maple syrup, the gift shops, the covered bridges, the historical markers, the museums. But they did agree to stop at the world's largest granite quarry. Well, I thought it was quite interesting. They didn't say too much. We got back in the car. They were pretty quiet. One of them said to the other, this kind of reminds me of, that Chevy Chase movie where they go on a vacation to Wally World. The part about the world's largest ball of string? Well, his brother laughed, and something in me snapped. I wanted to take them on a vacation, and I wanted it to be fun. And Vermont was all I could afford. So I said, you never want to go anywhere. You never want to do anything. All you ever want to do is stay home and watch baseball on television. Well, there was silence. They had tried to be nice in a teenage boy sort of way, and it had not been fun, and now I was yelling at them. So none of us spoke for a while. We stopped at a rest area down the road to get directions. And in front of a large map of Vermont, we saw an elderly woman and an elderly man. And the woman was talking to her husband, and she was saying, you never want to go anywhere. You never want to do anything. All you ever want to do is stay home and watch baseball on television. Well, we cracked up. We laughed. We were still laughing when we made our last stop in Vermont, a few miles down the road, for some very good Vermont ice cream. It saved our vacation. Now, it still hadn't been fun, but we had survived it as a family. And it made a pretty good story to tell afterwards. Thank you.